What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about what it actually costs to start an Amazon FBA business. So I'm going to go through retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesaling, private label, the differences between each model and how much they actually cost to get started. I'm also going to take you on screen breaking down every single cost, what your return would be on your first order, second order, so you can think long term of what this actually cost you to start an Amazon FBA business, because I don't think people really get down in the nitty gritty going through each variable, what it's going to actually cost you long term, as well as to reinvest for your second order. So I'm going to take you onto an Excel sheet and break down what that actually looks like. So you'll get to look at numbers that I actually look at of going through this process over 50 times now to make sure you don't miss anything. You know exactly what it's going to cost you. So hop into my screen here. Let's first look at the different business models and breaking down each cost before we get into the nitty gritty numbers here. So first I want to cover retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. So this is something I did when I first started Amazon FBA. This model obviously is just you scanning clearance item racks, going to Goodwill, going online, finding deals and reselling on Amazon. Obviously, you don't need much to start this because you can start with literally just one product and an Amazon account to do this. But you know, it can get up to $500. You can get up to $10,000, $20,000. But to start, just really $100 to $500 here to really get your first product and sell it. Obviously, this model, really low margins, really hard to scale, and isn't my favorite. But if you're low on cash, maybe this is where you begin. Okay. Next is wholesale. So this is where you say you have Nike shoes, you become a wholesale vendor of Nike shoes. You become a middleman selling the Nike listings on Amazon. There's 40 people in the buy box and you kind of rotate and you can sell this, 10%, maybe 15%, maybe a little less, 5%. For wholesaling, not my favorite because it's very cash intensive. You have to order a lot to get into the big companies that actually do volume. You have to submit a lot of documents too, making sure that you're actually a wholesale vendor for these companies. And it's really tough. Again, not my favorite model, but this one you'll need a little bit more cash. 500. You can start small with some smaller companies. 5,000. Again, not my expertise by any means, but I have done a little bit in the past here. And this is something where to really scale, you're going to need a lot of cash to kind of get your return on the money there. Let's go into private labels. So this is where we kind of break down everything here. And obviously some of this stuff applies here because you can have software for wholesale or retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. You'll definitely need a Seller Central account, which is $40 a month here. But let's just break this down one by one here. So we have Seller Central account. It's $40 a month for the professional account. If you're going to sell over 40 products a month, you're going to want the professional account. You can get the individual account, which is $1 per product. And obviously you sell 40, that's $40 right there. So if you plan on doing this long term and unlocking PPC, things like that, make sure you just get the professional account. Next, we have product research software, which is about $100 per month. So I use Helium 10. I have a discount code down below, so you can pay a little less for that Helium 10. But if you have Jungle Scout, Viral Launch, whatever works, doesn't really matter there. But it's usually around $100 per month. Next, we have the LLC and EIN. So EIN is actually free, but I just put that together because you kind of need them to get going there. But LLC, you can get this done with the registered agent for $250 a year or so with the mail forwarding address. If you do it yourself, you can save a little bit of money. Depending on what state you're into, it's going to cost either less or more. I do it in Wyoming. So this is what I actually pay for. If you use services like LegalZoom, obviously it's going to be a little bit more. If you're in California, New York, it's going to be a lot more. So just kind of do your research there. Next, samples, $200 to $400. This is us going to the manufacturer, vetting them, and eventually getting product samples sent to us by DHL. The product sample itself is usually like $10, $15. It's the international shipping you're paying for here. So what I like to do here to save money, if say you have 3 manufacturers you want to get samples from, so you can actually combine all the samples here with your inspection company or freight forwarder to just pay that one-time international shipping cost instead of paying for it 3 times separately. So just look out for that. Inspection here. So we'll get an inspection done in the manufacturer. Again, a lot of these things are kind of optional to people. You don't really have to get samples inspections, but for me to make sure that you do this right, this is like what the legitimate costs are, the legitimate steps you have to take to make sure you have a 5-star product, you have the profit margins, you give yourself the best chance to succeed. Again, private label too, just to let you guys know, is we're going to a manufacturer that makes existing products that are already on the market, and we're just making little adjustments to them, or adding value, bundling, and then just slapping a brand name on it, which is super easy to do. That's what private label is. Think of your great value brand at Walmart, your market pantry at Target. It's exactly what they're doing, but we're just doing it in Amazon's infinite shelf space, essentially, right? So samples there, inspection companies, like I said, $200 to go inspect the product before you pay that final amount. Now your first order, where the bulk of the money is going to come from, is right here. So private label, we want probably set aside $3,000 to $8,000. If you got a lower budget, $3,000 here. Higher budget, 8,000. I wouldn't go higher than this at all because, again, even if you have the capital, you don't want to go in those high volume markets where they know what they're doing. They're going to eat you alive bigger budgets than you. So I'd rather you with a small skill set or like a new skill set, start low, build that up. And as you get confident, then you can place those big orders. Okay. So really this just comes down to what market you're going into, of what you're going to need for your first order. Okay. So with my clients, I usually ask them, okay, what's your budget? So that determines what market we're going to go into, right? So we're not going to go into a bigger market if they have a budget of 3,000 or 4,000. If we can get up to 8,000, then we could be a little bit more aggressive, right? Okay. So next, international shipping. So 1,000 to 3,000. This all comes down to how big your product is, how much it weighs. So it's going to be variable there. So 1,000 to 3,000 is usually what we see for the first order here. So photography here, $300 to $1,000. This depends if you have skills in photography, who you go with. We can get infographics done for, $50 a pop. We can use Canva. Then all the way up to $1,000, we can get lifestyles with models, dogs, babies, all that sort of stuff. So it really just depends, again, what your product niche is, what's required of that market, of what you need for photos, and then also your budget and your skill set of what you need there. Okay. Next, trademark. So I think everybody should get a trademark because for reasons I'm going to talk about a little later. But again, you could do this yourself. I have videos on this. You can literally just walk through the trademark USPTO office and get it done because we want to get brand registered. That's the whole point of this. That way we can get in the Vine program, A+ content, unlock a bunch of other stuff, have more, safety nets when it comes to hijackers on our listing, everything like that. Okay. So trademark right there, $250 if you do it yourself, $500 if you hire it out. I wouldn't pay more than that. A+ content, again, say we're hiring this out. Again, you could do this yourself with Canva if you have the skills or, watching some YouTube videos, but $500. You can use the same assets for your photography to make A+ content. Again, what that is just like a little web page design you could put on your listing once you have a trademark and are brand registered on Amazon. So this really helps with the conversions here. So again, I'm talking about things that are technically optional here, but what I really think you guys need if you're gonna do private label the right way, have a product that can sell for a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, be competitive right away. This is kind of the investment I think is necessary to make sure you're in the top 99% and not, the bottom half of 50%, right? We don't want to be that. We want to do it right. That's what really separates us from selling in 2023 versus, 2015, where you could throw a crappy yoga mat up there and make millions. Now you could still make millions. You can still make a lot of money here, but you need to follow a proven guideline, a proven, roadmap, essentially of what it takes to compete and be better than everybody else. Okay. Next, let's talk about video on listing. Again, this is optional, but $500 for a video editor. Usually these are just slideshows with some text on them when we first start. So we can use photos, infographics on here. We get anything extra here. It could be a little bit more if we need more assets. Same thing with your PPC video ads if we want to test that out. Again, optional, not something we usually do right away, but eventually if we have success, we're going to add this on pretty quickly. Okay, next, Vine program. So this is a program with Amazon once you're brand registered. That's why, again, so important to get a trademark, everything like that. $200 to register there and get up to 30 reviews. I didn't add in the product cost here, but essentially if you just want to use this, essentially what it's going to cost here, right? So reviews from friends and family, say you give some away. So product cost of goods sold is what I use there. So essentially what it costs for the product and what it costs to internationally ship it over, which I'm going to break down all those costs a little bit later. Plus you're paying the Amazon fees here. So say you give away 30 products, which is the Vine program too. You can just use this for what it's going to cost extra. So $330, so $5 for product cost, $6 for Amazon fees. That's going to bring up to $330 to give away 30 products, right? Because you're getting cost of goods back because at a full price sale, you save a $15 margin. You're still getting that $15. You're just giving away the product, which is $5, and then $6 for the Amazon fees, right? Next, Amazon PPC, so about $300 to $500 per month here. Again, I wouldn't start over this. Some people aggressively go after this. I don't think it's wise. You need to start lean. So, $10 to $15 a day in budget is usually what this looks like here. So, and again, Amazon PPC is just Amazon advertising to make sure, if you're on page 3, you can do some advertising and get on page 1 essentially. Next, we have video editor. So say you want to do some external traffic like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. This is about $500 a month. This is going to vary depending on the quality, things like that. But this is kind of a bonus, just something to think about and something we're doing more and more and more. So if you want to be aggressive right away, this is something I'd factor in. And then now what a lot of people don't talk about is the second order, right? So say the best case scenario is that your product does super well. We're going to need to reorder at a larger amount, right? To keep up with the volume because it's a momentum game. Well, it's going to cost you a little extra, right? So $5,000 to $10,000 in product cost for your second order. I'm going to break that down and what that looks like in the Excel as well. but something we just need to think about, right? Again, we could be on the lower side and take things slowly. So if you have a smaller budget, we could go slower, or maybe retail arbitrage wholesale is better for you at first. But again, we want 30% margins here, where you're probably looking at 5 to 10 to maybe 15% here. So I'd rather get a bigger return on my investment and do something that's going to grow year after year into a real asset, into a real brand, potentially a real product line that maybe we can exit for millions of dollars or 3x multiple. Again, that's years down the path, and if we do things correctly, but it's something to think about. So we can take it as slow as we want. I like to think about Amazon as you're injecting money to go faster, or you're just using time on your side. So if you have a 9 to 5, you want to take this slowly, build it over a year. Like, we could do things a bit slower and a bit leaner and let time do the work, or we can inject capital, which I think you need a little bit of capital to inject right away. But when you're first starting, your skill set's low, use time, guys. And then when your confidence builds up, like, oh, if I inject $1,000 here, this is going to skyrocket my exponential growth. Something like that, right? We need to think about this in the right way. Because when I first started, I was just burning capital because I thought I need to make this go faster, but I didn't know what I was doing. So that capital was being wasted because it was so inefficient. So we really need to get the skill set before we inject capital for growth, if that makes sense. I'm talking about PPC here, video ads, external traffic, everything like that, or just being super aggressive. Then we have Amazon fees we have to think about. So 15% referral fees for most categories. This is a little different if you have specialty products, but for most people, it's going to be 15%. So this is what Amazon gets when you sell an item on their platform. And then FBA fees. So if we're sending it into FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon, it's going to their warehouse. They're taking care of all the shipping, everything like that. This is variable, depends on the size of your product, the dimensions, the weight, everything like that. So let's break this down into an Excel sheet here. So just hang with me. I'm going to walk you through every single part of this. That way you understand. So I broke this down into yearly costs, $480 all year for Seller Central account, $1,200 for, product research software, $250 for LLC, samples and inspection, $500. First product, let's say we use $5,000, which is a healthy amount to start with here. International shipping, say it costs us $1,500 there. To get that sent over to Amazon's FBA warehouse. Photography, say we get in the middle there, $600. Trademark, $250. We do it ourselves. A+ content, $500. We hire that out. Video on listing, video PPC ad, which you can get done for $500 here. So I included that. So I'm going above and beyond, like doing this the right way the first time here, essentially. The Vine program, 30 reviews, product cost for reviews, $330. PPC, Amazon advertising, $4,800 for the whole year here. Total for year, $16,110. So over the year for your first order is what you're going to spend if you're doing it the right way. Now there's ways to cut cost here, do things yourself, photography, A+ content, video, editing, things like that, right? We can keep PPC down as well, but this is me being fair, essentially. Very fair, doing it right the first time, okay? Now I include the second order here. So say it costs us $8,000 for a second order, $3,000 to get that shipped over. So $27,000 here total for second order if we need to reorder by that first year. Let me break this down by first order and second order next. So what we're actually going to make, take home, ROI, everything like that. So what I think everybody needs to really think about are these numbers right here, because we need to do this math to figure out, like, is this worthy of our attention? Is this worthy to invest that money? Especially when we're looking at what type of product to sell, because we need to know these numbers to get the green light to go ahead, right? So first we got product cost with shipping. So, I took this 5,000 plus 1,500 here to get 6,500. Say we got 500 units here. Again, this is all variable because we could have higher priced items, lower priced items, but this is typically what we're looking for. And the cool thing, if you make this once in Excel, you can just plug in numbers and get the easy math right there to figure out, like, oh, this is definitely worth it, right? So say a cost per unit here, COGS. So COGS meaning cost of goods sold. So what I do is I just take this total amount, divide it by 500. It's $13 it's going to cost me to buy the product and get it shipped over to Amazon's warehouse. This is probably the most important number I need to have accurate. I don't include these extra stuff in here because this is all, I wouldn't say variable, but it's essentially bonus, like fixed fees, right? Once we get the trademark, we don't need that ever again. Okay, so if our product at the base level is making money, then over time, we're going to pull in more money. We're going to actually make that money back, build a real asset, because we don't have to go back and make the real video ad. We can adjust our PPC based on our margin. So really, we just need these numbers to work right here to really know if it's a go and it's worth the investment, because a lot of these things will just disappear over time, especially as we scale. Okay, so cost per unit, $13 here to come in here, get 500 units. Say we're selling this at $40. Again, this depends on the market. We can go a little lower price point, versus our competition to be more aggressive. But say we're gonna do $40 here. This is all, fairly adjustable depending on the market we're going into. Referral fee, so we're gonna pay $6 every time we sell an item, just right up the top there. FBA fee, say it's $6.50, which is a large standard size, somewhere in that range for a large standard size, which is where most products kind of fit in at. And then our total Amazon fees will be $12.50. So just adding these two here together. So leaving us with a profit margin per unit if we sell at $40 at $14.50 per unit. So that's what we're going to profit, okay? And that gives us an ROI per unit of 111%. Now, people probably talked about this before if you watched other people, but 100% ROI is great. Now, this might be 80% when you first start out, could be 100, could be a 120, but over 100%, like you're doing something well. Meaning you put $13 in and you're getting $13 back, that's 100% ROI, right? You're investing $13 to get a profit of $13. But you also have to think you're getting that cost of goods back sold, right? So you're recouping the $13 and making an extra $14.50 on top of it. So hopefully that makes sense there, guys. So the only burnt money here is really the Amazon fees. That disappears, that goes to Amazon. But we'll get the $13 back credited to our account when they buy, and we'll get the $14.50 on top of that. So we'll get 111 return on investment here per unit, okay? So if we sold all these units, all 500, we're gonna get $13,750 back, right? Back to our bank account. So we see here, that's actually lower for the first year total. Again, we could do this in 6 months, 8 months. Really just depends on how fast we go. But say it takes us a year, we're actually negative cash, about $2,000 for the first year, okay? Now let's say we get a second order in this full year, okay? Which I hope we're all pushing for that. That's exactly what you want. At least 2 orders in a year, if not 3 sometimes. But again, it just depends on the market, depends on your budget, depends on, if you're working 12 hours a day at another job, that's gonna be really hard to do. So it really just comes down to time. So we add in a second order here. Again, all of our costs are already taken care of for the year. So it's just product cost for the second order, right? Which is an extra $11,000. Total expenses there brings us up to $27,000. Now let's go to second order here. So we put 11,000 in with shipping. For units, we get 1,000 this time, right? Because when you buy more from your manufacturer, you get a better deal, right? Which we see for cost per unit COGS right here is down to $11. Okay, so our margin just increased by $2 because we bought more. So you see, as you scale, this is going to get more lucrative and more lucrative. Okay, so we just have to kind of bite the bullet when we first do this and think long-term goal here. Okay, there's no get rich quick schemes out there. If there are, they're probably a scam. This is a real business, and this is how we have to think about it long-term. Our price point is $40 still. Okay, so we're staying, even there. Referral fee, 15%. So our Amazon fees are exactly the same here, but we gain $2 right here. So our profit margin per unit is now $16.50. ROI per unit is 150%. Now I will say this is, if you get 150% by your second order, you're doing a lot of things right. If we go into the right markets, possible, but it's going to take a lot of work with product research and suppliers to get here. This is a little less. This is fine. This is just the numbers I'm using here. Honestly, if this ROI per unit was 80% for my first order, but I knew it'd be like 110 my first order, like that's a green light for me. Like I'm loving that. So if we sold every one of those units, 1,000 units there, we have a total return of cash back to us, our bank account, $27,500 here. Okay, so we can see this grew quite a bit here. Obviously, we put more money in, got more money back out. And this, of course, is including our COGS we're getting back, right? So what we put in plus the profit margin, okay? So now if we look at total return over the 2 orders, we have $41,250 back to our account, okay? So this is the cash we pulled back in, okay? And total expenses for the first year is $27,000. So now we're cash positive, okay? Just by your second order, you're cash positive. And guess what? If we just keep going, third order, fourth order, these numbers are just going to get better and better and better as we buy in bulk, as those fixed fees kind of dilute themselves as we keep pulling in more cash. So our metrics will just keep looking better. So looking at total cash, we brought home $14,000 that first year. Total ROI is $152,000. So we put $27,000 in that first year, got $41,000 back. Now this is, again, first year. I'm being pretty spread out, pretty generous. If we, knew what we're doing, you got the skill set, we probably get to third order, fourth order to make this a business that, could replace your 9-to-5 income. But if you're here the first year, I consider this a huge win. Just think we get 4 more orders in the next year. So year 2, a lot of those fixed costs are done with. So realistically, you're probably looking at $30,000 to $50,000 your second year. Again, if we're going to a more aggressive route, we could up that pretty quickly. We could also get a second product, a third product. We can break into new markets. But this is the foundation here, guys. I just want to be super realistic with this. If you have a 9-to-5 job, this is what's going to look like, what it actually costs to get this going, as well as what the return's going to maybe look like, again, depending on how much time you put in, how much cash you have to inject, what product you pick. But that's all part of the business and you kind of figuring things out and making sure you're doing this business in the correct way. So I hope that made sense, guys. If you got any questions at all, put them in the comments down below. If this was valuable, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you get more of my content that goes over this and kind of my 6 years experience in the Amazon FBA field. Otherwise, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.